And that is training my brain. Those are the neural pathways that I want to start creating. I'm training my brain into becoming who I want to be, the new identity. Okay, so I told you guys I finally figured out what my block has been when it comes to financial manifestation, like manifestation of really great wealth. And it's been years of me like, what is the problem? And I only now, yesterday, realized it as I was talking to a friend that my problem was not money scarcity, like the belief of money scarcity. It was the belief of time scarcity. And because I measure all money in time, and I feel like I'm always running out of time, I also subconsciously am always running out of money. And so that's huge for me. Some of the things that I'm doing, okay, so number one is obviously I have to change my mind, right? I got to change my mind. So I am taking my time. I am slowing down. If I'm ever in a place and like somebody has to do something, I remind them like, hey, I'm cool, whatever pace you want to move at, go ahead, but I'm here, I'm cool, I'm not in a rush. So I make that very clear. One thing that's helped me do this is there's a creator who was saying that every single morning you can write out 5 present tense identity statements. So what that means is like if there's something that you want to have or want to be or want to do, in the morning you write out the statement as if you already have it. So for example, here are my first 5. Vulnerable moment. My first 5 were I have a lot of fun, I am easygoing, I make $50,000 a month, I'm handsome and wealthy, and I take my time. I think I got all 5 of them there. So those are my 5. I wrote them. Guys, it feels very basic and simple, but saying that like during the day, I would start to remind myself, wait, what were my 5 statements? And I would say them back. And I actually found myself at one point in the day, without thinking about the statements, I slowed down. And when I acknowledged that I slowed down, I was like, I do take my time. Oh, hey, like, look, this is evidence right now. Like, I do take my time. And that is training my brain. Those are the neural pathways that I want to start creating. I'm training my brain into becoming who I want to be, the new identity. So that is something that has really helped me. Another thing that I've been doing is I have been saying yes to more things that I would say no to. So I love to have a good time, but some things just don't feel like my thing. So like, there was like a mechanical bull at this place, and my best friend was like, I'm definitely getting on that, which is very much within her personality. And I was like, I'm definitely not getting on that. And then when I felt myself say that, like when I felt that belief come up, I was like, why not? Like, why not? Just because the old you is not somebody who would do that, like, well, you don't want to be the old you anymore. Like, do something outside of yourself. Listen, the mechanical bull thing seems like a silly example, but the thinking behind this is that everything that when you wake up in the morning, you immediately remember the life you've been living. You recall the life that you've been living. You remind yourself of the dream. You're like, okay, well, this is what's going on. You remind yourself of what you're going to be living, and you base it off of the past. Every single time, you base it off of the past. You want to get yourself into a state where you're starting to base your thinking off of your future. And because I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the past, I thought I already did this. Genuinely, I thought I already was a person who doesn't think about the past a lot, who leaves it where it's at. But I didn't realize how much time I would spend thinking about the text that I sent, how that person probably feels, what they're probably thinking about me, what I think about that, how they might approach me later, how am I going to respond to that approach. And then I start storytelling a future that is honestly a waste of my time. Like that's not, but you're constantly thinking, and if you're not active about it, if you're not intentional about it, it'll just go in whatever direction. So there's times I'll spend a 30-minute car ride just thinking about a message that was sent or an email that I have to send, and maybe a little bit of anxiety around it, and what if they reply this way, then I'll say this, and I'm like over here writing this story when I could be using this time. Well, I am using this time to create. I'm just not creating very powerfully or very intentionally because I'm just letting whatever be whatever, but I could be using that same time to create the reality that I actually want. Instead of thinking about this thing that gives me anxiety and training my like neural pathways into feeling that emotional response, I can think of things that make me feel the way I actually want to feel. And I can use those moments to create those realities in the same way I use them to create the negative outcomes. I can use that same power to create the positive outcomes. What if everything goes my way? What if everything works out perfectly? How good can it get? How much better can it get? Like that same power, that same wand can be wielded in a totally different direction. So that's also something that I'm doing. And then I'd say those are really the main things. Like I'm definitely more like I'm easy. Like I'm easy. Like I'm easygoing. Just like my statement, I'm easygoing. It's all good. We're not in any rush. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. The last thing I would say that I'm doing to help create this new reality that I desire, that I did not realize, this was also such a big gap for me for so long. I didn't realize this. I've been feeling like I kind of manifested to my cap. Like lately I'm just like, what's going on? Things are so slow to change right now, but I know I've manifested things before and I know how I've done it. What I didn't realize is that this next level of me, I don't actually have any examples of it in my life right now. I didn't even realize that. Like every single level of me, for example, when I moved to Atlanta, or before I moved to Atlanta, I really wanted to move to Atlanta. I knew a lot of people who had relocated. I moved to Atlanta. I moved here. I had a really cool apartment. I wanted a high rise. I went to several people's high rises in Atlanta and in other cities, watched a bunch of shows with people with high rises, and then I got the perfect high rise. When I was in the high rise, I stopped wanting to pay rent. I really wanted to pay mortgage. I really wanted that for myself. I wanted a house. I wanted to buy a house. So I met a lot of people just through random things who owned a house that were around my age, around my demographic, saw that they could do it, knew I could too, bought a house, right? But this next level of me is so much, it's very outside of my current reality. And I've been like irritated, struggling, frustrated. Why is this not being created? But when I look back at how I created all of the other things, what I kept noticing when I would look back is I'm like, okay, well, what did I do to make that happen? Every single time the answer was surrender. I'm like, okay, these things, you wanted it, you saw it, you envisioned it, you saw examples of it, and then you surrendered. And that was what allowed it to come. But What came before it coming was feeling it. And that's truly the step. I thought it was something else, but that's actually the step that matters. I'm not missing out on the surrendering. I'm missing out on the feeling. What feeling am I actually trying to generate? Because all those other things, I had direct examples. I had access to an example of it. But now this new life that I want, I don't have, I can access it, but I haven't been accessing the examples of it in order to feel the way that I want to feel. Huge gap. So I'm gonna leave you with that. That is the last thing. I'm calling it window shopping. So I am going to start window shopping, more actively window shopping. And y'all, I mean, like, imagine the amount of money that you want lands in your account today, like in 5 minutes. I know there are things that you want to do, but you haven't really tested. Like, for example, I want several cars. I want a garage of cars. I've said this for years. I want a garage of cars, but I have not test driven many cars, especially not very many luxury cars. So that money appears in my account. I'm not just going to go buy any car. I want cars I actually like, that I like the interior, that I know the different models. I know the options I can get it in. Like, you know, like what color do I want it? How do I want the display? What displays do I like? What gear shifts do I like? You know what I mean? Like, all of those things that matter, I can figure those things out right now. I can walk into any dealership. It's okay. Like, and I can tell them, like, hey, I'm about to come into a lot of money and I want to figure out what I'm going to want. That is true. That is true. So yeah, that is the window shopping aspect. So I highly recommend, y'all. I think the things I told you were like saying yes in situations where you would normally say no. Write out 3 to 5 present tense identity statements every single day when you wake up, and say them when you wake up, say them throughout the day, and say them before you go to sleep at night, and start window shopping. Start give yourself an opportunity to actually see and feel what it is that you want. Because if you don't have an example of it, if you're not putting yourself in the energy field of it, then it is unknown to you. And so the best way to predict your future is to create it. And this is how you create your future.